Let me introduce my first guest to you. He's Edward Tuttor, the convener of Dynamic Youth Movement of Ghana. And my other guest will be in later on, and I'll introduce him as well, and we'll continue the conversation. But Edward, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, David. I'm doing good.
Fantastic.
I believe you are good too.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, great,
Yes, by the grace of God, I'm good. All right, so let's begin the conversation. The first story we want to tackle is the one of NDC's Sammy Gyamfi's arrest.
Yeah.
Let me read a couple of stories from citinewsroom.com, and then we'll position the conversation.
That's right.
Yeah. All right, so initially we had... okay, so let me just start from him being arrested. Sammy Gyamfi arrested over alleged cyber crime. All right, the National Communications Officer for the NDC, Sammy Gyamfi, has been arrested by the police. His arrest is in connection with his alleged involvement in forgery and attempts to spread false information to cause fear and panic in the country. He was picked up at the premises of UTV at Abeka Junction in Accra on Monday, 27th of January. That's yesterday. Lawyer for Sammy Gyamfi, Edward Tuttor, expressed his dissatisfaction with the arrest, saying it suppresses his client's rights. As you're aware, based on the instruction of Sammy Gyamfi, we caused a human rights application to be filed. While an application is pending, an application for injunction was subsequently filed. I have personally followed up with a letter to the police. I met the one in charge of the cybercrime in his office and delivered the letter to him. He indicated to me that he will consult with the legal department and respond to me appropriately on request that we made before the police. From the time we sent the letter to the police to date, the Ghana police has never responded. That is the regrettable low that the Akufo-Addo administration has taken the law to. They are yet to file a response to the human rights application and application for injunction. The police is acting lawlessly. Let me just come and have the conversation.
Yeah.
All the various issues going on around Sammy Gyamfi, in particular, and the way he is granted bail. He has been, he was arrested. He's been granted bail. Being charged yet, and so on and so forth. What do you make of all this?
Yeah, thank you very much, David. Let me say a good morning to our viewers, yourself, and to your crew as well. I believe that this is a very important matter. It started with a whole lot of controversies here and there, and we had another roller coaster ride yesterday. I'm very happy that he has been granted bail, but I just want us to broaden the conversation and view this issue through the prism of objectivity and nationality, in that we are looking at our criminal justice system. Now, even though the Constitution places the dispensation of justice at the bosom of the judiciary, we have the police service that are supposed to be the enforcers of the law, and they are to ensure that there's going to be law and order.
Yeah.
Now, the Constitution advocates for equality before the law, and which we have termed as the rule of law, that irrespective of who you are, your profession, your tribe, so long as you are a Ghanaian, you are equal. We are all equal before the law, and no matter what you do, you are answerable to our laws. But you see, when there's this rising perception that the enforcers of the law are kind of cherry picking, they are sort of selective, or in worse scenarios, they are being hoodwinked by the executive or any other persons to satisfy their own interests, then it becomes very, very worrying. This is not the first time. I remember the Foswampofu case, how he was treated, people raised objections, finally it went to court and all of that. Now, looking at how this case is going, I as a Ghanaian, I'm very, very worried that we have our Flagstaff House, the seat of our government, making a report to the CID that there has been an alleged cybercrime, falsification of documents. I'm very worried because, in the first place, once it involved the Flagstaff House, you understand, this issue shouldn't have been treated this way. in that the police will have to do their own preliminary investigations and satisfy themselves that really the complaint that is being made really has some grounds. Because if you come out and you say that our Flagstaff House, the seat of our government, the one who consolidates our democracy, where we have all reposed trust in our president, his administrative quarters, there has been some sort of cyber crime level against it, involving it. For me, it's very worrying. What message are we trying to put outside? And how we have even gone about it?
No, but Edward, if there's a threat, or they feel there's a threat, should they not make a report?
Now, we need to look at the end from the beginning. In that, looking at what has gone on so far, the account of proceedings, the police is not even clear. Okay, they are not even clear as to the direction of the case. Because yesterday, when I listened to the official from the CID, he said he has not even been charged. He has been cautioned. You understand? Now you have a complaint coming from the Jubilee House. And at this stage, you cannot even be firm to place a charge. Come on, you are making a mockery of the Jubilee House. You are making a mockery of the Jubilee House by making sure that this issue gets publicized, by making sure that this issue is out there, and people are thinking that if there's a crime, a perceived crime against the Jubilee House, in the first place, why should it even happen? And the second question is, on what platform was the so-called alleged cyber crime taking place? Was it on mainstream media or was it on social media? When I heard, a scenario of information I gathered was that it happened on social media. Now the question we ask is social media regulated here in Ghana? Do we regulate social media? Do we hold people accountable for what they put on social media?
But
do we consider defamation or character assassination or any other perceived crimes via social media? Do we find it within our laws?
But Edward, the truth of the matter is that, or to be fair, social media is discourse in the public space.
I agree with you.
And so it falls within the remits of our laws.
I agree with you.
There may not be specific directives in that direction as far as the law is concerned, but because it's discourse within the public space.
But you see, justice cannot take place in the vacuum. For every justice that is to be dispensed, there needs to be the legal framework at least. You understand? In the absence of a legal framework, then it leads to discretion. And even the discretion, there will be issues arising as to the grounds for the discretion, the parameters within the discretion can be exercised, and how far can that discretion hold?
Okay.
And finally, and what kind of signals or preparation are we taking from situations like this to erect strong frameworks? You see, I'm talking about this because if it was any other person, I wouldn't have been bothered. But involving our Flagstaff House, that when this issue travels all to the final stage, and it comes out that some of these issues will prevent the alleged person from facing the full rigors of the law or being held account for his actions, that means we are making a mockery of our Flagstaff House. Okay. And that is what actually bothers me.
All right, okay. So let me introduce other guest to you. He's Martin Kpebu, who's a lawyer, the executive director of Human Rights and Governance Center. Good morning, Martin.
Yeah, morning.
How are you?
I'm well. Thank
fantastic.
You.
It's good to have you here.
Yeah.
Now, writing off the back of what Edward just said, the issue of, I want you to address the issue of social media discourse and how does it function in terms of our legal framework, and then also the conversation around all the things that we are looking at, what's happening with the police and their interaction with Sami Gyamfi. He's arrested, he's not charged, he's released on bail. What's going on here?
Okay. So we have the Electronic Communications Act. Yeah. So in the Electronic Communications Act, you'll find provisions that deal with communicating through the electronic media, okay? This specific, so their phones, using the internet and all that. Of course, what happens is that social media is covered, except that naturally, with every law, you won't find every particular word in the law, because the laws in their nature are such that usually people, when you make the law, then people try to go around it, then you would learn lessons from it, then you would go make new laws to cover, you see. But I think that it's sufficient for now. So social media, if you publish something on social media, it's covered. Oh, people have been prosecuted and jailed for revenge porn, making threats, okay, and all that. So I think that at least there's sufficient law in the electronic communications.
Counsel, I'm concerned because
electronic transactions
in other jurisdictions we've had issues of identity crisis. We've had issues about privacy information, for which there has been calls that if there's no legal framework to cover how identity, okay, and personal information, and how the jurisdiction itself manages or regulates what is put on social media. When there are crimes, perceived crimes, it becomes challenging because it is perceived that the absence of a legal framework leads to discretionary application of the law. And when it is discretionary, then how far can we sit down to allow for discretion to travel? And in case there's an abuse of the discretion, what happens to the individual who is facing the rigors of the law? So I think that this is my concern that I'm raising.
Yes, Ed, what I'm saying is that there's sufficient law. If like we say, you can't carry all the laws in your head. Yes, David, thank you. You even opened the Electronic Communications Act here. There are sufficient laws, okay, to deal with this situation. What I'm talking about is that, you see, when you take a phone, if a person is alleged to have been the originator of a document, okay, and he denies it, when a court order is secured for a search of his phone, yes, the technologists, the experts are able to show whether he altered it on that device or not. So that's how come very often police will go to court for an order to seize a computer or to seize, let's get the one on the transactions, electronic transactions. This is okay, duty. Yes, so what I'm saying is that you find sufficient, you won't say adequate, but at least something to start with. If your basic problem is that who uttered this statement on social media, that one is covered under the law. When they take the device, they're able to search, and then through that, they're able to prove that it originated from this device or not. So let's say anything you write on your computer, when push comes to shove and they conduct the search, they can tell that it was written on this particular computer. Every computer, laptop, those things, they have special IP numbers. So through that, they can tell that this is the originating device. So those ones generally are covered. I thought that maybe where you would have more, concern is the fact that there's a pending court action. I'm talking about the Samije matter, and yet the police seek to arrest him and to continue. You see, David, in practice, at least from the little that I've learned over these years, usually police from their practice don't actively seek to continue investigations in a matter if a court of law is seized with the same in a civil action. Okay. So that's the way I see. There's that committee, that courtesy that they extend to the court. Okay. It's not exactly written in any hard policy that I've seen written, no. Just when I was coming, I was trying to look through the service instructions to see if it's specifically written. It's not specifically written, but out of experience. Maybe you can open the lines, let senior lawyers who have experienced it call in. I've seen it a number of times. That, you see, sometimes, so let's say, David, touch wood, I slap you. You have the right to either go to the police station or go see your lawyer, and then you sue in a court of law for compensation. If you go to your lawyer and your lawyer takes the case to court, that's a civil case. You are headed for compensation only, no issue of jail term, okay? If you went to the police, their investigations and prosecutions will lead to a fine. Usually we don't imprison people for assault, okay? Unless maybe it's accompanied with so much injury. But if it's just, let's say, if it's a slap, yeah, it's very serious enough, but, you know, because of temper, so many people have issues with temper and the rest. If we're imprisoning people for assault, too many people will go to jail. So usually, so the point is that, so from the example I've given, if you did a criminal case, then you're looking at the police investigating. So what I'm saying is that if your lawyer took the civil aspect to court and then you subsequently went to the police, in practice they'll tell that no, the court is seized with the matter. So let the court finish first. Then after, we can look at it, because, you know, for criminal matters, there is no limitation. So it means that even 100 years, that's Ghana. We are using a very old law, though. In several jurisdictions, they've since put limitations. That's one thing about our criminal justice system in Ghana. We are still using very old laws. Okay? Yes, so from the example I've given, it's usually not the police practice that when a case is in court in a civil matter, they also actively investigate. That's the strange thing I find about this. Very, very strange.
Okay. Yes. I would like you to also address the issue of you are handling the case of ECP Agojo.
I can't talk much about it.
I don't ask you to talk on that. It's rather an issue that for me it seems to be a bit similar in the sense of the conduct of the police in these cases, where in the case of Sami Jemfi, there's no, he was released without charge. What's the issue? What's going on here? Is it common practice? Is it the way it's done? Also the issue of arrest without a warrant. Was he presented with a warrant of arrest before he was arrested? But we're going to take a quick break before we come and continue that conversation. So let's take a short break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, and the conversation is still on here on Breakfast Daily. My name is Kwaku Sakyi, and my guests are Edward Tuttor and Martin Kpebu. Martin was making a submission before we went to break. I'll allow him to continue. Martin, yes.
Yeah, so briefly, before going to that question, so the matter of the Electronic Transactions Act. So, for example, there are a number of sections, but just a few to show. So, for example, under Section 21, it has said that an electronic record is considered to be that of the originator if it was sent by the originator personally, or B, a person who has authority to act on behalf of the originator in respect of that electronic record, or C, an information system programmed by or on behalf of the originator to operate automatically, blah, blah, blah. So these are some of the things. Then when you go to the sections, the ones on offenses, as I've already said, for people, you know, like revenge porn. Somebody's dating another, the next day they break up, then you say, yes, the courts have convicted based upon it. Okay. Yes, that's the 90 around section 100. Okay, so let's move. At least the act is there. We can do maybe a more detailed discussion on the act specifically, subsequently. But at least once you Google it, all citizens can also Google Electronic Transactions Act at 772. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so back to you. Asked if he was arrested
based on a warrant.
Yes. Yes, from if what we are reading in the newspapers are true, then I heard that he was arrested based on a warrant. But David, the warrant of arrest is usually not the commonest way of the police proceeding to arrest. Most of the time, they arrest without a warrant because the law allows it. I'm sure, you know, since our democracy...
Our laws allow it?
Yes. As I said, because of the old law. The law is 1960. 1960. So, obviously, So, and of course, citizens have clamored for reforms so that they would now make arrest warrants the norm. Right now, it is the exception. So now, police go for an arrest warrant usually when the person is perceived to be non-cooperating. You see, when he's perceived, whether the perception is real or imaginary, I cannot tell, but that is it. So when they think that this particular person doesn't seem to cooperate with us, then they go to court for an arrest warrant, and then they do that. Okay, so under the laws, yes, you can arrest without a warrant. Oh, and don't forget, even citizens, as citizens, if let's say right now Touchwood were to see Mr. X committing an offense, you don't have to leave him, rush to the police station that they should come for him. What if by the time they come, he's gone? Okay, so those exceptions, I mean, those things are allowed in the law. You see, but the issue is that, as I've stated, because now we are in a democracy, citizens want a change, so that it means that let's do a lot of more paperwork so that you are given a copy, you'll be given the basis of the arrest. Okay, but right now, under the Constitution, it can be done orally. Yes, under Article 14, it says that if they arrest the person, they should inform him the reason for the arrest and all that. You see, in a language that he understands. Immediately, once you arrest him, you physically restrain him.
Okay, so
you have to.
So clarify. You're saying that you can arrest without a warrant.
Yes.
But when you do make such an arrest, you have to explain to the person in a language that he or she understands the reason for the arrest.
Yes, immediately.
Is this always the case, though?
Not always. You know, naturally, there's always a law and then there's a practice.
Okay.
Of course. So there have been situations in which police, you know, it's a human institution. So just as they will do well in some areas, in other areas they won't. Okay. So there have been some cases in which police officers have arrested without informing the person and all that, and it's been to court, and the courts have granted damages. Yeah. So if you are arrested without due process, this inform him the reason for the arrest in a language he understands. So if you arrest Mr. X and he speaks Wale or maybe Mushi or Dagbani and can't understand English, you have to translate. You cannot just haul him. You see. Okay. So for those reasons, if the person were to sue, he would get damages. Okay, it's just like the 48 hours kind of thing. So we are improving gradually as a nation. We are improving. I think it's far better now than
on a side issue regarding, because you brought it up, regarding the 48 hours issue, the case that you're on. How did they get around it, the whole 48 hours issue? Because I know your client was in for much longer.
Okay. Yes, so the 48 hours law, what the Supreme Court says, and as already stipulated in Article 14, is that when you arrest the person, the power to detain the person beyond 48 hours belongs to a judge, not a police officer.
Okay.
So it's about the power who, before you keep somebody in custody beyond 48 hours, it must be sanctioned by a judge. Okay. Police don't have... Remember that police usually, their core duty is to investigate the crimes and all that. But in terms of restricting the person, most of the powers belongs to a judge of a competent court. So police usually have that discretion within...
the 48-hour window.
It's not even because, you see, what the law is saying is that, so DS is somewhere between 24. In actual fact, it's not stipulated. The main thing is that the law is saying that as soon as it's clear to you that you don't want to grant him bail, within 48 hours, be in a court of law.
Okay. So the judge will take the decision.
Yes. So you don't have to wait to start preparing for court after 24 hours. Okay. No. You know, from experience, maybe from the magnitude of a crime, the police can judge that for this person, we need him longer than 48. So as soon as you arrest, after preliminary interviews, you prepare him for court. So, but as soon as you keep him beyond 48, then it's in breach. Oh, and people have obtained a lot of damages against government. You see, and that's where the unfortunate thing is. You see, a lot of the time, because the police officer would often be working as a public officer, when you sue and get damages, it's the government that pays.
Yeah.
So maybe it's about time the courts started, you know, finding ways to hold the policeman accountable, so that if he has to pay from his pocket, he'll be very wary. But right now, where a lot of the cases I've seen, is the government that pays.
In your case, finally, before we move on to the next subject, in your case, the 48-hour rule, did it work as you were describing it? As in a court, a judge making the pronouncement?
Yeah, wow, it's been some time.
Yeah.
To the extent that we haven't taken it up, it doesn't appear it was an issue. Okay. You know, that was in November. Every day, so many cases. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll move on to the next topic, and we're going to talk about the one ambulance, one constituency. And let me just read a couple of stories. The 300 ambulances to be dispatched today. This is upon Nkrumah speaking, Minister of Information. So some 307 ambulances will be dispatched to the various constituencies after a commissioning ceremony on Tuesday. That's today. Information Minister Kojo Oppong Nkrumah has said commissioning of the ambulances was initially scheduled for 6th of January 2020, but was postponed to January 28th, 2020 to allow for the training of EMTs and the arrival of all the buses. Addressing a press conference today, Sunday, that's this weekend, Mr. Nkrumah said the ambulances were procured under government's $1 million per constituency initiative and will create jobs for over 1,000 people. Mr. Nkrumah said in addition to the approximately 307 ambulances, clearance has also been given for 575 EMTs to be recruited, out of which 450 have already been recruited. First of all, and I quote, some 307 ambulances are being dispatched on Tuesday to the various centers. Clearance has also been given, and then he goes on to say that. All right, let me start with you, Martin. Good news?
Yes,
Okay.
but of course we will never forget the delay in the distribution. It's unpardonable. I think next time we should up the game. Yes, if you look at the reasons given, it showed a lack of proper planning. And it's that sad. So you see that it's good news, but the context of it, has reduced the sweetness of the good news. You see, so to speak. Yes, because to have packed them there for so long, I just couldn't believe it. So how did we do that? I thought we have people who are in charge of planning, so we should have coordinated well. So these ambulances should have been distributed long ago. Yeah.
Well, just a quick comment also on the some people are arguing that the $1 million per constituency was a parallel promise to the 275 constituencies having ambulances in each. So why is it that the government is now taking one promise and claiming it to have been embedded within another promise?
Wow, David, to be very...
No, I've just read it on social media, so I'm just asking.
Yeah, you see why I'm laughing is because, citizens are very alert. So I'm not well conversant with the difference in the promises, and it's not clear to me. So for those who have made that
I'm sure Edward will have something to say about that.
We can grant them that. So but it's good. You see, the good thing is, I always say that, in our democracy, and it didn't start today, we've always have different opinions. It's something that's clear that you think, everybody should toe this line. It won't happen. So even though we are celebrating the good news, you will have those who persist in the negative side. And it's also good. It's good because, we don't need yes men all around. No. The president needs people to be able to tell him the hard truth, people to speak truth to power and all that. So these people criticizing and showing the other side, they are welcome. It's good for our democracy. And as I said, it didn't start today. Ghanaians have always been like that. If you want to check, in the colonial era, if you want to see the plurality of opinion, you check the number of newspapers. Since we had several, I was shocked. I was like, so it wasn't the case that you only had Daily Graphic and Ghanaian Times. No. There were always private newspapers, even in the colonial era, and people always gave their own opinions. Different shades of opinions. So please, let's welcome them. They are better than the culture of silence we had in those days.
All right, Edward.
Yeah, David.
Yes. So the same question I asked Martin. Is it good news?
Well, it appears that this is all that we have been waiting for. Fanfare, jubilation, self-gratification, and all of that. And for me, it's very, very sad,
What's sad about it? We needed ambulances. Now we have 307. Everybody's going to get one, at least one.
David, look, we all must appreciate that healthcare is about human life. No matter how we tout our economy is growing and we are making progress in terms of the figures, a very powerful indicator has to do with our health delivery systems, And even if we are to measure, we talk about the infrastructure, how many hospitals, health facilities do we have? When we have that, we can talk about doctor-patient ratio and logistics and equipment. Even when you have all these things in place and we have them standard, a lot of casualties are recorded because of delays. Be it maternal mortality, be it home crisis, be it crashes on the road and all of that. The agency, the ability to move people from the place of crisis to the health centers makes a lot of difference between life and death. And that is why the ambulances are so important. David, I cannot understand, till now, I cannot understand why we are choosing between saving human life and glorification or self-gratification. Of what consequence is the jubilation, the jamboree we are going to do? How is it going to bring the lives that have been lost? Is that going to make up for the people we have put at risk? People giving birth in tricycles, people carrying people on the back to health centers for delivery. Accidents have happened. People are on the verge of dying, and there are no ambulances to take people to the health centers.
Okay, so wait.
I just want us to appreciate that holding the ambulances up until now. How is this jamboree, this celebration, how is it going to make up for the lives that have been lost? How is it going to compensate people who we have put at risk? That if not for divine intervention, those people would have died. Until we're able to answer this question,
Edward,
I think that, look,
Edward, the president is going to, inaugurate these, and then they will dispatch them. We've been waiting for them. It's a promise he made. Now he's delivering on his promise. What's so wrong with saying, hey guys, this is the promise I made. Here you are. Take all your ambulances.
Okay, all right. So from what I see, the president wants us to know that he has honored his promise. He wants everybody to know, I promised this number of ambulances and I'm delivering them. Here they are. Then we all clap for him. Fine, we'll do that. But the issue is, what is the purpose of the ambulances itself in the first place? What is the purpose of an ambulance? And if you want to focus on yourself, other than everybody, because in leadership it's about everybody but you. It's about everybody before you. If we are saying that what the president has said, we want to accept as Ghanaians, then when it comes to road construction, then let's wait. When we get the money and we can build all the roads in Ghana, then we can commission, then simultaneously we have road construction. When it comes to job creation, let's wait. When we can employ the millions of Ghanaians, they can all get a job at the same time, they can start taking pay at the same time, then we can do a jamboree, then at once all the problems with youth unemployment are going to be solved.
Edward, is this not...
Let's ask ourselves, is that the logic we want to go by?
No, but is this not absurdium reduction, really? That's what you're doing.
What I'm saying is, the president has missed
$1 billion roads and ambulances are different kettle of fish.
No, but look, okay, so when it comes to road construction, the damage that the absence of road can cause, compared to the damage that the absence of ambulances can cause, you are not ready to wait for us to get all the roads, the funds for all the roads ready. And we say, okay, there are about 1 million roads in Ghana that needs to be fixed. We've got the money and we are starting all at once. The damages that the absence of roads can cause compared to the damages that the absence of ambulances can cause, what is the difference? We are talking about human life.
Okay.
And when I look at Article 1 Clause 1 of the Constitution, it makes my heart ache that the power of government is to be exercised for no other purpose than to pursue the welfare of Ghanaians. And you can't talk welfare when you don't have health care. And you see, it is not, and why do we meddle in so much mediocrity in this country? At the break of a virus, China is thinking of building about 5,000 capacity, between 1,000 and 5,000 capacity hospital in less than a month. That is something new. We should be clapping for that. They are not even doing a jamboree because they know there's a crisis and their lives are at stake. Ambulances, cars. Come on, what are you telling me? You understand? So, Mr. President, let me just speak to you this morning. I'm highly disappointed that you are seeking glorification. You are seeking glory. You are seeking honor at the expense of lives that has been lost. If this jamboree you want to outdoor today, if it cannot bring any life that has been lost back, then Mr. President, bow your head down in shame. If the people that have lost relatives, loved ones, if this jamboree cannot bring back their loved ones, Mr. President, bow your head down in shame. We need leadership is all about priority. Let's prioritize what is important. When we get our priorities right, the people will benefit. Anything short of that is just useless. Let me just put it that way.
Okay, all right. Let's go to the next story. And we want to talk about the transport sector. New plan is under threat of shutting down. I'll read a story quickly to you on citinewsroom.com. Distressed New Plan company appeals for Akufo-Addo's intervention. The management of New Plan Ghana Limited has sent an urgent message to the president, Nana Akufo-Addo, to save the company after the announcement of its imminent closure. According to a letter addressed to the presidency and cited by Citi News, the company is about to officially close down by 31st January 2020 due to a lack of financial support and contracts from our major shareholder, the government of Ghana.
Yeah.
In the letter, the company highlighted the reluctance of several governments to award them contracts, which has negatively affected the productivity of the company. They further pleaded with President Akufo-Addo to come to their aid, as the collapse of the firm would have a huge effect on the Ghana Beyond Aid agenda. So the letter is there. It's a long one. I'm not going to read it. But your thoughts as far as this story is concerned, just briefly, because we're wrapping up the show.
I think this is a matter of concern to all of us. Now, the question I want to ask is, at the initial stages of setting up this particular enterprise, and government being the majority shareholder,
yes,
what was the object of the company in the first place? What kind of services were they to render? What kind of, sources of revenue? Was it that they were going to take majority of their revenues from contracts awarded from government, or they were going to operate as any other private entity, like we have the VIPs and what have you? And for a very long time, that they've not been awarded a contract. I just want to be informed about the object of the company and how their operations were going to be regulated. But be it as it may, if they are complaining that they don't have contracts, and government feels that maybe STC is there, so they are channeling all their resources to STC, and they want to equip STC, why not? You can float your shares. Withdraw, let other investors come in.
So government should sell.
That is, if government is not interested, sell it, and let new partners come in, inject the necessary capital. They should put in the necessary measures to make sure that we revamp it, because if not for anything at all, we are talking about jobs that needs to be sustained and protected. And I think it's very, very important. Okay.
Martin, where do you stand as far as the story is concerned?
David, can I get more context?
Yes. Okay, so let me just read quickly the letter that they wrote. So, appeal for government support to restore distress. New Plan Ghana Limited. The management of New Plan Ghana Limited respectfully write to appeal to your government to save New Plan Ghana Limited from closure 31st January 2020. New Plan Ghana Limited is a public-private partnership company with the government of Ghana as majority shareholder of 55%, remaining belonging to the 45% belonging to the Fado Group. The company has a production factory in Kumasi, Abrepo Junction, and a service center in Accra at Achimota. New Plan Ghana Limited has, since its establishment in 1974, successfully built over 4,000 buses for government institutions and agencies, universities, and private companies. New Plan Ghana Limited has the capacity to employ about 2,000 direct workforce, as well as create over 10,000 indirect jobs for Ghanaians. The last contract of the company, the company had from government of Ghana was in 2002 under the Kufuor administration to produce 450 DAF VDL buses for the Metro Mass Transit. Okay, so and that contract ended in 2010, July 2010.
Okay, great. So this is clearer. Yeah. Okay, from what you've read, of course, I have a soft heart for local content.
Yeah.
But let's clarify this. When they say build or produce, let's clarify, no, the parts are not originally
made here.
No. They make them
They
outside,
assemble here,
knock them down, and then they assemble them here. So it's an assembling plant. Yes, but why not? You know, this is not the first. We had other ones, okay, dating way back. So Tata Bars and all those people. So to the extent at least there's a lot of local content in it, the assembling the buses and all that. I'll support them. Except that, you see, David, the problem is that we don't know how come the company went so low. Is it mismanagement? Okay. So to the extent that
he's saying that they've not had contracts. They thrive on contracts.
Contracts, yeah.
You know, and if government is 55% shareholder, government is also the one that will say, let's give the contract to them.
So that's good.
You know.
That's good. But, you know, usually for Ghanaian entities, a lot of the entities in which the government has a huge stake, you know, often they also go for a lot of mismanagement. So all I'm saying is that, yes, I support their call for local content, but let's hear the other side. Of course, you know, it's about competition. You know, a lot of businesses that only want to rely on government often suffer this kind of fate. You know, you should have a lot of innovation. You know, when you go on our streets, some of the trotros you see on the streets, like what? Even in Accra, these trotros are applying the streets?
Yeah.
No. So all I'm saying is that there's a lot of market out there. So we expect them to also be more innovative. Maybe come to GPRT, you give them a deal. That, okay, I can assemble this kind of cars, this number, then we'll give you high purchase terms. You know, some years ago, some of the banks, Stanbic Bank and the rest, they deals for these GPRTs. And they imported buses.
The Stanbic.
You see, so that's why we expect the company buses, to, this new plan to also do. Come on. And especially, you know what? Oh, that reminds me. I was in Sandema in December.
Okay.
Oh, when you see the trotros, part of me is Sandema. Okay. Yeah, it's a part of me. I'm mixed like 4 tribes, different. I'm very, very mixed. Yeah. The trotros, I saw there. I was like, what? You see? So there's a lot of
state were they in?
Terrible. I mean, and very slow. So you can see these were very weak. So there's a lot of market out there. Even in Accra here, there's a lot. In the interlands, there's a lot. So they have to fashion out a plan that will make it, you know, Ghana, one of our biggest problems is the cost of credit. The interest rates are just way too high. Sometimes I'm like, why are we so docile as Ghanaians? We just sit there and then the banks just fleece us.
25% policy rate has been reduced drastically.
Yes, but what are the banks doing? Watch them. And I know this. Look, Dave, let me tell you, if there's one singular thing that you want to do this year, one that will attract a lot of attention and help all of us as Ghanaians, we should be looking at the lending rates. Every year, we just sit down. Banks have very high tariffs, okay? Too high. They're like, what? Well, what is this? And we are not protesting. We are just docile and watching them as they fleece us, okay? So cost of credit. It dovetails into this.
Into that, okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much to you, Martin Kpebu of the Human Rights and Governance Center, and then also to Edward Tuttor, who is the governor of the Dynamic Youth Movement of Ghana. Thank you very much for watching.
Hi there. I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share with all of your friends. This is Breakfast Daily on Citi TV.
Join the Breakfast Daily team Monday through Fridays from 7:30 a.m. to 10. Join us for breakfast daily, only on Citi TV.